Hello.
Hi. Welcome to
Fairy Choir Mothers.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't done that in so long.
No, I know. Well, we didn't even do it last
I
time.
know.
Oh well.
But we just haven't done a video in a while. But we're here now.
We didn't do our meeting.
Sorry, it's my fault, not text.
He didn't read the book.
I didn't. I just couldn't. I was trying to get past a lot of the weird racism in this book, and it was just hard to push through a lot of times.
Yep.
Because I felt like all of like the anger and the vampire rage was just aimed toward a lot of the slaves. And I was like, I don't like this book, but
it was a lot.
Through it, though.
Yeah.
But
this is what we read this month. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice.
Anne Rice. I'm currently watching the movie, and it's totally different from things in the book. I'm not finished yet. But it's totally different.
It's really different. As somebody, the movie, it's one of my favorite movies ever. And I've seen the movie a million times, but I never read the book before this. So, reading the book now, book to movie adaptations are usually different, but this one's, I mean, it's really different.
Yeah.
They left out a lot of stuff and really kind of just changed the character dynamics and relationships. So, yeah.
But I mean, it's Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in their prime, so it's like, it's
movie's
okay.
Great. Yeah,
it's okay.
Movie's great.
I'll have more to talk about it like once I actually finish. I started it though. But yeah. So how did you feel about Interview with the Vampire?
I have mixed feelings about it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Overall rating, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which is pretty decent for me. I normally don't finish books if I rate them less than 3 stars.
Yeah.
So I would say 3.5 is like my average rating for books. So average overall. There were a lot of things that I liked about it. I thought objectively it was a well-written book, but I had a lot of problems with it for sure, which we will definitely talk about.
Yeah. I feel like if I was to rate this book, I'll probably give it 2.5 to 3 stars.
Okay.
The reason I'm giving it such a low rating is just, it's not a book that I would typically like gravitate towards as far as like the topics, but the character development made up for so much more.
Yes.
Like her ability to like actually develop the characters and like draw you in to be like, okay, what decisions are they going to make? Are they going to change? Are they going to do this? I really appreciated that, but honestly, it's just really not my typical like genre that I would gravitate towards. But I do appreciate her writing style. So yeah,
it was definitely more of my kind of book. I think I put this one in. I think actually you put this one in.
Yeah.
In the bin. We draw from a bin for books. I think you put this one in the bin.
I think so.
But it's definitely more my kind of book that I would normally read. I read a lot more like fantasy and fiction than you do.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. But I feel like there's other fantasy and fiction books that I would prefer. It's just this one was like a little...
It's not for you.
It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it after I pushed myself through it. I'm like, okay, it wasn't a bad read. I don't feel like I wasted my time.
Yeah.
Like, I would definitely read more books by Anne Rice.
I might disagree on that point there.
You know...
Alright, I guess we'll just go ahead and like dive right in.
Let's dive in.
My favorite things about the book were, I mean, her writing style is it's unique for sure. One of my favorite and least favorite things about the book is her writing style, because it's beautiful and very descriptive, and she has a way of kind of dragging you into the story and into the world that you just become like so enveloped in what's going on, and you feel like you've been like spirited away into the story, but at the same time her walls of text, like no paragraph breaks, no chapter breaks, made it really difficult for me to get through it first. And it took me, I mean, this book is not particularly long. It's less than 400 pages long, and it took me way longer than normally would take me to read a book of this length, just because of the, like, those sheer, like, text. It's tiny. There's no paragraphs. So there's my my loves and hates about that.
So as I mentioned, I love like the character development.
Mm-hmm.
Like she did a great job. But one thing that I did not like is I felt like she just put too much into the book. Like, oh, they moved here, they did this. It was just so much happening that it's like, okay, I was just trying to catch up from what they did last time. They were just in Bulgaria, now they're in Paris. It's like it just happened like within pages, and it was just so much information at one time that I just felt like I didn't get time to like fester in what happened before and actually take it all in. It was just like going like a bunny rabbit throughout the book, and I'm like, oh my goodness, okay. And then after I read the book, I was like, okay, I need to process everything I just read because it was just thrown at me way too fast. So that was the only problem that I had with it. And then of course, like, I get that it's an old-timey book and it's the 1700s, but there was just a lot of focus on them killing slaves for a long part of the book, and I just did not like it. And then some of the words that they use, I just could not.
There's a child across the street. He screams a lot.
That threw me.
Yep.
But yeah, it was just that writing. Even though I understand it's the 1700s, just like I still find it offensive.
Yeah.
And I just could not push through it at times. I'm like, okay, you just killed a slave, and now you're killing a bunch of slaves. Now you're burning house down, and you're killing them before you leave, and then the words that you're using to describe them is just like,
yeah.
So yeah, those were like my only like things that made me a little happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely my biggest issue with the book, for sure. I think I would have enjoyed it significantly more if it wasn't for the just blatant racism. That definitely like lowered my enjoyment of it, because overall, like I said, I think it's an objectively good book. I think it's well written. I think it's interesting. The characters are great. The settings are great, but just the sheer amount of like racism in the first third of the book, I mean, I almost couldn't read it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
I literally put the book down, just stopped reading it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so once the first incident happened, I was like, okay, so the one slave. And then it's like, okay, here's another one. And then you track them down, and then you kill them once you leave. I'm like, okay, it's just too much attention on like killing slaves.
It got really in detail about not just that they were killing people, but that they were killing slaves. And talking about like his blackness. And I'm like, okay, like this book was written in 70 something. It was written in where is the damn 1976.
It's still not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's set in 1700s and 1800s.
Yeah.
But it was written in 1976, and Anne Rice had no reason to
do that. I feel like she just put way too much attention on it.
I know.
Like, if you would have briefly just said, okay, this happened because we all are aware that it's slaves there. So yeah, if you would have had like one scene next, it was just too focused on slaves and them being killed and like explaining their blackness. And I'm just like, okay, I'm barely going to get through this. Because if you guys don't know, most of the books that I read are about like black authors and historical fiction. So to have someone say things like this, I was just like, absolutely the hell not. Like, I barely got through it. But that's why I gave it a low rating too. Because of that. Specifically, it's like you're too focused in on these slaves.
Yeah, I definitely would have enjoyed it more without that.
Yeah, it didn't need that.
It didn't need it.
It literally did not need that.
And it goes away after like the first third of the book. Once I don't think this is not going to be a spoiler-free discussion. No. So if you haven't read the book or if you plan on reading it, let's just say stop now. But after like they leave the plantation, there's way less of that, but it's just such a big focus at the beginning of the book. I mean, that's basically all you hear about is like,
and that's a big portion, like
slaves.
It's a third of the book. So like the first little half of the book is strictly them being on. It's Point de la. I always had a hard time pronouncing that.
I don't remember what it's called.
Point de la, something like that.
I won't.
I'm not gonna butcher that. I was literally saying I was gonna avoid saying it, but I'm like, I have to say it.
Louis' Plantation. We'll just call it
Louis'
that.
Plantation.
Because I don't know what it's called. It's fine. It's not important.
Yes, but yeah, that plantation.
Yeah.
It was
It's a lot.
a lot. But yeah, so speaking of the plantation, how do you feel about like everything that happened? Because that's where he was turned and he met Lestat.
That's a very, very vague question.
I know, like, when you were in this part of the book, like, how were you, like, taking it in? Like, because it got to talking about, like, his previous life before he was a vampire. So we got a lot of information about Louise as, like, a human.
Yeah, this was an interesting read for me as somebody who's seen the movie so many times. And I'm going to read this, especially at the like pre-vampire Louis' life. It's completely different. I'm probably going to reference the movie several times because a lot of my brain is just so wired to think about the movie that reading this was almost like reading a different story. But listening to Louis' life before he turned into a vampire was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is so different from the movie. The movie basically is just like, he had a wife. She died. But the book, like, I can see... It's so just like his brother Paul, his story. I said this was gonna be spoiler free, and here I am, or not spoiler free, and here I am like trying not to give spoilers. His brother
Paul
dies in a very tragic way, and has basically a mental breakdown, and Louis is like enamored with him and wants to take care of him, and then his brother dies and Louis loses his mind pretty much.
Exactly, he goes into that deep dark depression, but the way he died, like you guys are arguing and then somebody falls down the steps.
He just falls down the stairs. Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then they already lost their dad before, and he was already taking care of the family as like a 24-year-old. And it was just a lot because I felt like he looked to his brother for like just like a safe haven,
spiritual
like
guidance. Yeah,
he will pray a lot.
Yeah,
but then the fact that his brother was having like that weird thing where he was telling him that he was going to be evil and all this good stuff, and then he falls during that conversation. It's just like he left after saying you're going to be evil, and he falls and he dies. Yeah. I was like, what the hell? What just
foreshadowing. Yeah. I mean, we know what's going to happen. You're reading a book called Interview with the Vampire. Obviously, it's about a vampire, but it's still foreshadowing. Yeah. I mean, it gives you so much, like, the background information is so much more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so much bigger in the book than it is in the movie. Like, it gives you so much more reasoning behind why like Louis is the way that he is in the book, because he's miserable. He's miserable. I feel like we spend most of the book just going back and forth between Louis wanting to kill himself and die and just hating his life and wanting to kill Lestat. He's miserable, and it makes so much sense, like reading his story with Paul and like how tragic. That was traumatizing for him. And then he gets turned into a vampire.
And the way he got turned into a vampire, it looked like he was going to be like, okay, no, this isn't what I want, when he seen Lestat feed it. And then Lestat didn't give him a second chance to like be like, okay, I'm out of this, and just turned him immediately. But that goes to show something too, because he was hesitant on becoming a vampire, and as soon as he like drank Lestat's blood, he was like, okay, I'm seeing colors differently. It was like, I'm seeing shapes differently. It was like he became alive. Even though he was like dead before, even though he was alive, but he was dead because he was so depressed from like his brother dying. It was just a lot.
I feel like Louis, for me, like the biggest overarching theme that I've seen in the book is like Louis' constant struggle with like self-hatred, pretty much. It's a very drab book in terms of like listening to Louis just narrating how much he wants to die all the time. But then every now and then he will like see something beautiful or realize that because he's a vampire he gets to see things differently, and he hears and sees and feels and smells things differently than humans do, and his constant like back and forth between like how much he hates his life and then appreciating the beauty of everything because he does get to see things as a vampire is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
It would be miserable to read about him being miserable all the time if not for that.
Sure.
But then you get these breaks where he's just like so enamored by like the sky or the town or something, or like Claudia's skin. He talks about Claudia's skin a little too much for my comfort. That's a whole other topic.
Since we brought Claudia up, we might as well go there because Claudia was one of the most interesting characters in the book.
Yeah.
I felt so sorry for her a lot of times because like she was in this little girl's body, but she was very much a grown woman. Like she was extremely intelligent. She had woman desires, but she was stuck in this 5-year-old body.
Yeah, she's 5 in the book.
I know.
5 years
In
old.
the movie, she's older.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's stuck in this body and she has all of this knowledge and she cannot be a woman because she's looked at as a child. And I'm just like, I feel so bad for her.
Yeah. And she didn't get the choice to become a vampire.
She didn't.
Lestat turned her against her will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she wanted to die. She wanted to die, and she got turned into a vampire against her will. And now she's stuck in a 5-year-old's body. And it's really heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, and then like the longer that she lives and the older that she gets, it's like she becomes a little more like distanced from her humanity because she was turned when she was 5.
Yeah.
So she didn't know much, and now she's like stuck in vampire mode, and it's just like really sad. Yeah.
Well,
but she would also piss me off.
I know.
Like, but at the same time, like she was 5 years old, so her reasoning isn't fully there. I'm like, why would you do this? Like, she was strictly like on fumes of emotions all the time when she did something.
Yeah.
And she would never like listen to Louise sometimes. And I'm just like, that's what he's here for.
Yeah.
Like, he's right here with you 24/7. When you make a mistake, he's here to help you clean it up and fix it. Like, just start listening to him a little bit more. But I'm like, she's 5.
She's 5. She's never known a different life.
Yeah.
I know. Poor thing. She's the only, like, good character, in my opinion. Like, besides her being spoiled and, like, a temper tantrumy child, I mean, morally, she has the best morals, I think, out of all of them. She's a vampire, so obviously she's like evil. Yeah. Whatever side you want to be on there. Yeah. She's a vampire. She kills people. That's her life. That's all she knows. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, Louis is miserable all the time, and Lestat is one of the worst. Mm-hmm. I love him. He's my favorite character.
Mm-hmm. We all love the villain.
Yeah, but he is the worst. He's the worst. Absolutely.
He's messed up.
And then poor little Claudia is just like trying to make them happy and also be happy when she is miserable. Mm-hmm. I feel so bad for her.
I know, she's just stuck in the middle. And then like even the way she came about, they kind of tricked her and saying like, "Where are your parents now?" And like not telling her about like her origins.
I know.
So, like, where are your parents? Even though like Lestat, the fucking mastermind, was like just tricking her so that he can keep Louise in one place because Louise was talking about leaving, so he trapped him with a baby, like Claudia, baby vampire.
Yep.
And I felt like that was just like the theme. Like he kept doing things to kind of like trap them, and because he secretly wanted a family, he just didn't know how to like approach having a family and think about other people before thinking about himself. Like he just went straight into like selfish mode, but subconsciously he really wanted to feel love and wanted somebody to be there for him, but he couldn't accept it. And that even shows like with his dad dying, because you cared about your dad enough to actually want to put him in the house. And then once he started dying, he became like this evil person, was being like mean to his dad and like kill him. But it's like, you obviously care, you just don't know how to accept those emotions. He just went straight to anger. He's a narcissist. Through and through. Narcissistic person.
He loves himself and he has feelings deep down in there but doesn't know or care to learn how to show them.
And I felt like the only way you know how to show them was just by doing shit to piss people off, to bring emotions out of other people. Yeah.
Gaslighting. He gaslights.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. He didn't care who it was. It can be Louise, Claudia, the baby. He did that to her throughout her whole like vampire transformation.
Yep.
Like he just used her as a pawn a lot of times. Because he knew Louise like had a soft spot for her and humans at times.
Yeah.
If he could control his like his will to want to like feed on them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well,
what do you think about I guess we kind of this kind of branches into what we were just talking about, but Lestat throughout the entire book, I mean, he never gets over Louis.
No.
Ever. He spends the entire book pining after Louis. I mean, clearly, like, that's his person.
Yes.
And I specifically marked page 326 where he's like, this is where Louis finds him in New Orleans at the very end of the book, and he's like decrepit and about to eat a baby. But he's like on his deathbed basically, and he's just like, I dreamed of your coming. Why? Where does this obsession come from? Like, he could have had anybody that he wanted.
I think it was because of Louise, like how attached he was with his emotions, even with being a vampire. He was still like very much so in tune with like his old human self, and he had a soft spot that like Louise couldn't break. Because I felt like that was a theme throughout the book too, him trying to break like that human side, trying to get him to detach from it, and to like fully become a vampire. And no matter what he did, Louise still like was attached to like his human self, and I felt like he found beauty in that. And it was weird because he wanted to break it down even more, but I feel like that was the attraction that kept him going to Louise, because he knew like deep down that Louise was a good person and was a good heart, and who wouldn't want a person like that around them, especially when you're like this evil vampire and you can't break this one person. Like, it became an obsession for him, and then he ended up kind of accepting that Louise is a good person, but not knowing how to like actually approach it. Like, it was weird.
I think there was definitely an element of jealousy in there.
Yeah, for sure.
From Lestat's point of view, I think he was jealous of Louis' ability to, you know, still feel emotions, which is something that Lestat clearly doesn't have. Lestat has emotions, but it's not something that he can control. And I think, as a narcissist, he saw Louis being emotional and feeling human feelings, and he was jealous of that and wanted it, so he wanted to take it away from Louis because he wanted it, so he didn't want anybody else to have it.
I can see that. See, I was looking from like a different angle, but now that you said that, that makes a lot of sense too, because everyone who Louise kind of like comes in contact with always loves him, even with him being a vampire, all the way back to like Babette. Yeah, her still having like love for him. Claudia obviously loves him more and like will kill Lestat to protect them. Like, they became a unit, and not him and Louise became a unit. And like, even when they move on to Paris, like, people still love him. I can understand like him being jealous of like the love that he receives from other people, and people just naturally meeting Lestat with hate, because that's just the energy that he gives off. And then think of it from that perspective. Yeah, for sure.
It's I mean, there's no real answer, but clearly Lestat has a fucking problem.
He does.
He's obsessed.
But he really wants a family. He would like turn vampires all the time and like want them to be under his wing 24/7. I'm like, you clearly want to feel love.
It's pathetic.
It's pathetic.
It's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah. He just didn't know how to go about it, which is sad.
No.
That's just
it's sad and obnoxious at the same time, which is, I mean, great writing skills that you can like love and hate all the characters at the same time. Because they're all so flawed. And they're all miserable and like insufferable. But you can't help but love them and want them to be happy anyway.
I did not feel that way about Lestat.
Really?
I felt that way about Louise. But Lestat, every time he came up in the book, I was like, I hate him. Like, I could not stand him. Like, the entire book, I just could not stand Lestat. I felt like those emotions were reserved for Louise, because I felt Louise was really trying to be a good vampire, and that was like the theme throughout the book too. Like, because vampires are innately known for being evil, and he just wanted to show people like vampires are vampires, but they can be good people too.
Yeah.
Good vampires too.
Yeah,
like,
it's a morally gray area.
Yeah, really gray. Like, I feel like that really showed with like Babette. Is that how you pronounce her name?
I think so.
I think so. Like, when she found out what they did on the plantation, but she still like gave them refuge because they were like running. And like when she realized, okay, they killed all of these people, and she tried to like kill Louise through the lantern on him, like he could have killed her. He just bit her, and he stopped Lestat from killing her because he wanted her to see that vampires do not have to kill you.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a theme that he kept doing, like just trying to show people that even though I'm a vampire, I still like am a good person.
Yeah, a good person.
A good person, yeah.
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 And I don't know, that's what kind of like made me have those feelings of back and forth with him, because he would do things like that and then he would go out and kill somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Like, we believed in you.
I know. On the topic of good people,
yeah,
Armand, we haven't even touched on this yet.
Armand was like, I don't even know the words to describe it. Like, at the beginning, he was just like a mystery.
I know.
That's what he was. He was so mysterious throughout the whole time. Like, from the beginning, like, them saying, like, him being in their minds and telling things, and then him being attracted to Louise
I know.
also.
I mean, they're in love with each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't even have thoughts for this. This is...
I don't know where to start.
I don't know if my brain is fully comprehended.
No.
What happened with that? I mean, we'll start at the beginning. They met, immediately fell in love with each other,
Yes.
killed Claudia, and ran off together. Killed everybody else, and then ran off together.
That was the most mind-fucking thing ever. Like,
Yep.
I feel like I'm still trying to process it, because I'm like,
I know. She of all people did not deserve to die.
no.
I wish that everybody else had just died and she had lived.
She lived, exactly. Like, so for them to do that, I was just like, and then for him, like, the entire time, he kind of gasped at her, like, oh, Armand isn't a problem. He's not this. Yes, you killed her. You killed her.
He literally killed her. And then Louis went off with him anyway.
Exactly.
I mean, clearly he was devastated at the loss of Claudia, and it, like, ruined the rest of his life. And once that happened, he never recovered.
Exactly. But I'm just like, the way she led up to that, the writing, because I'm like, I felt so much for him. And I'm like, I have hope that you're going to be better. And then for him to end with that, I'm like, you got me all the way here for him to do this?
Yeah.
You emotionally just screwed me so bad right now. And I'm like, I hate him too.
Yep. I know. But then all he wants is for Louis to be happy. I mean, he follows him for like 100 years while Louis is miserable. And he says at the end even, he's like, you haven't been the same since that day. And I wanted the old you. And I've been with you this whole time, like waiting for the old you to come back. And it never does.
Exactly, but to go to like those extremes.
I know.
So, like,
I mean, you did it,
You
dude.
did it.
You killed her.
I'm like, Claudia though, like that's a part of him. That's a part of what makes him happy. That's a part of what keeps his emotions like going because of the love that he has for Claudia. I feel like he did that for selfish reasons because he wanted him all to himself, and he's seen the love that he had for Claudia. That was strictly because of that.
Yep.
It wasn't that. It was because he was selfish. He wanted all of his love, and he needed to get Claudia out of the way because if push came to shove, he knew that he would choose Claudia over him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he tried to twist it and turn it into a different attitude. No, that's not it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then Louis kills the rest of the vampires, so we get a little bit of a revenge for that.
Yeah. But I'm like, not for Claudia.
No. Nothing will ever make up for that.
Nothing.
But how about that damn fire?
I can't deal with you.
I mean, Louis straight up kills every other vampire in existence to his knowledge because of her death.
Exactly. So he kind of got his revenge, but it's just like, it just shows how deep his love for Claudia was. And every time I think about it, it just brings me back to like the fact that they killed her.
I know.
And that I feel like at the end it kind of did what Lestat was trying to do the whole time, take that human emotions away from him. And he becomes like this slayer of vampires. Like, it all plays
I didn't even think about that.
That's how I felt. Like, ends up breaking when they killed somebody who he loved the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he turns into exactly what they were trying to make him to be. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's how I took that.
It completely makes sense in my head. It's like something clicked now.
Yeah.
He turned into what Lestat was trying to make him.
Exactly, when they took away his pride and joy, which was Claudia. Claudia was his safe place.
Yeah.
And then I felt like Claudia was like there to like help him because his brother, younger, and once they did that, it was like his brother died again. And instead of like being depressed about it, he's like, he went into full vampire mode and like just detached and got rid of all his human feelings and was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
So he became like that devil, the evil vampire.
And he was never the same again.
Never.
From the end of the book, as we know now, he was never the same again.
Never the same.
He was never the same Louis again. I wonder, I mean, there's like 10 books in this series. I don't know if we ever figure out, but I wonder what happens to Armand after he leaves Louis in the park. There is no answer. There is no answer, but I would be curious to know what happens to him.
I'm a little curious myself, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And Lestat. Did the interviewer ever reach Lestat? Because at the end of the book,
the boy,
the interviewer, Christian Slater, goes off to find Lestat so that he can be turned into a vampire. I wonder, are they going to become the new Lestat and Louis? Are they going to be partners in crime? I need to know these things.
For sure. And I want to know, like, if he does find him, like, what's Lestat's story? What made Lestat who he is?
I think that there is a book that's like Lestat's backstory. I think it's called The Prince Lestat or something. Because there's a lot. She's written a lot of books. Not all of these are in the Interview with the Vampire series, but I know that Lestat is like her favorite character, and she's written, here we go, The Vampire Chronicles. The Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned has Lestat in it mostly. There's
Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness, I'm just putting 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've seen that movie. It has Aaliyah in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's on Netflix. You should watch. I'm gonna rewatch it now.
I need to watch it. You need to finish the first one though.
Yes, and I'm gonna rewatch that because I did not know that was part of this series.
Yes.
Wow. And his name was Lestat.
So you know all along.
Did not know.
You knew more than me because I've never seen that movie or read the book. I mean,
I've never read the book, but
fuck Anne Rice, but
the movie came out a long time ago, and I just remember it being a big thing because Aaliyah was in it, and she looked like a hot, like Lilith type.
I
woman.
know. I've seen clips from it, and I'm like, I need to watch this.
Yes, I'm gonna rewatch it. It's on Netflix.
I'll watch it.
Yes, we should watch it.
All right, let's watch it.
We'll watch it one
All
day.
right. Anyway. I think that's most of my.
Let me see mine.
Most of my notes here. Awkward silence moment because we're both reading from our scripts here. This was a hard one to think about things to talk about, to be honest.
Yeah, because mine is just like little details that revolve around storylines we already kind of talked
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I mean, I took notes in case we needed conversation topics, but we kind of just went through the plot of the story.
We just went character to character, which
Yeah.
is like basically how I would feel like she will want us to talk about it, since
Yeah.
she focused so much on
The
character
characters
development.
were the main part of the story. And the fact that they were vampires, but
Mhm.
like, it's less about the setting and the plot line, more just about the characters and their
For sure.
relationships, which is, I mean, fantastic.
Yeah.
For as racist as she clearly is, she's a good writer, is very well written, and the characters and their relationships were really good.
Really good.
Really good.
I can definitely appreciate that about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't.
One last question.
Mm-hmm.
From my notes. Very simple. If it were you, maybe, like, if you were still you, but if it were you in this book, would you choose to be a vampire?
I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't choose to be a vampire because I feel like that brings on a whole different slew of problems. I already have human problems, and I would have to constantly remember my human problems while trying to process being a vampire and dealing with the new coming of vampire problems. And I don't want that. And then the fact that, like, you just live forever. I don't know if I want to be here forever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair
I feel
enough.
like I can see things as a human that I need to see, and I just need to go when I need to go. And if I feel like I need to escape life or something, then that's something that I need to work on, and I still wouldn't choose being a vampire. I couldn't. I don't know. I don't think vampire life would be for me. Now, if there were werewolves in here,
No,
if there were
don't
werewolves,
Don't
I
start.
would be a werewolf.
Cut the video.
I would be a werewolf, but not a vampire.
Okay.
What about yourself?
100% I would be a vampire.
You a vampire? Why?
Yes, because vampires are fucking cool.
They're cool.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Being a vampire is my dream. My dream. If I got to, like, wish on a star, I would be a vampire.
Yeah.
That's my dream.
I will be a werewolf.
Okay.
Because I feel like werewolves, they're like still. This has nothing to do with this book at this point. But like.
It's related though.
It is. That's like still like very family oriented. Like vampire, not like wolves. Like,
Yeah.
They usually come from like a family of wolves, and they all like combine and create a pack. And I just love wolves in general, and like you need your pack members to like survive. And I just like the theme of like being a werewolf because you're still human, and you still can die. But like with vampires, you're just here forever, which is beautiful in itself.
Yeah.
Beautiful in itself. And I think they're cool too. But I'm like, you have to feed. I don't like blood.
That's
I
a
wouldn't
big
want
one.
to eat anything.
That's a big part of it.
And then he was eating rodents because he was scared to feed on humans. I'm like, I don't like rats. I love dogs. I wouldn't eat a dog.
There you go.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a little too attached to my human feelings to be a vampire.
Yeah.
But if I ever met a vampire, if they were real,
Your
I
thoughts
would
might
love to.
change.
I would love to know
Yeah.
if they were real.
Me too. Any vampires out there, shoot us an email. Hit us up on Instagram.
You were very quiet.
Yeah. Please come talk to us because I want to be one of you.
Yeah. I can see you as like a very cool vampire.
Right? It fits me.
Yes, it does fit you.
Thanks.
You'll be a cool ass vampire.
Thanks. We should do what we can to transform into our respective mythological creatures.
Let's do it.
Alright.
Okay, women will hate each other.
No! No, we wouldn't have to.
Werewolves and
We don't have to hate each other.
they always hate each other.
Well, we don't have to. We're the star-crossed lovers.
That's true.
Yeah, we're the ones that bring the species together.
That's true.
We're heroes.
We can create our own.
Yeah.
I agree.
Plus, we're making our own rules, so why do they have to hate each other?
That's true.
Yeah.
History does show they hate each other though.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to
We'll
it.
get to it.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna get to it because we're gonna create our own rules, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, anything else that you'd like to touch on that we didn't reach in the video?
No, I think we touched on everything. We
Yeah.
got on the characters, which is what the book was mainly about.
Yeah.
talk about specific events that happened in the book. I think we kind of covered everything.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we did a good job.
Me too.
Everything just flowed.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Our November book is going to be 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes, I think. We'll post about it on Instagram now, for sure. But I don't know if we're going to do a meeting or continue the video format.
Yeah.
It's up in the air right now.
It is. Well,
We're going through some crazy scheduling changes.
Yeah. We'll figure it
Bear
out.
with us.
If we do videos, we'll just make sure we let you guys know on our Instagram page, and we'll post them. The thing is, it may be like not a specific date.
Yeah.
Like the 27th of every month. It may just fluctuate.
Yeah,
between
the
last
end of the
years.
month,
Yeah.
generally, yeah. But we'll let you know what books we're going to be reading, and you all can read along and then watch the video with us. I just don't know that we're going to be able, at least for the next like couple months, as the holidays and our schedules go crazy, job switching and whatnot,
Yes.
if we're going to be able to commit to like a certain day to have a live meeting. But you can definitely still read along with us. We'll post our books for sure.
Yeah, we will. And we'll keep you guys posted on everything that we're doing also.
Yeah. Or our like 3 viewers, whoever's gonna watch this video.
I think it's like 3 views on the last video.
Yeah. It's probably us.
It's us for sure.
Us. Yeah.
But I feel good when I make these, so
Me
that's
too.
all that matters.
Yeah, me too. Alright, bye.
Bye guys.